How's everybody doing? It is November's edition of Going to the Next Level. Coach Dressler here. I'm on the other side this time. I'm going to have a little fun today while we get going here. This month's about understanding the little things. But it's also November, so I'm showing you what it's like to walk in the wrestling room. You're all walking in the wrestling room, some of you for the first time this season. I'm in our locker room, and as you can see, I'm shooting this in October. We started practice on Monday, and on Monday I put 3:30 in everybody's locker, and for two reasons. Number one is you have to understand the importance of 3:30. You got to make sure that your focus, if you want to be really good, is really good at 3:30. You have to be on your game at 3:30. And the second thing, and probably more importantly, and where most guys miss it, and I'm talking at all levels, is when practice gets over at 5:30 or whenever you get done with practice, most guys screw it up between 5:30 and 3:30. It's because they don't understand the little things. Welcome to November. We're going to get right to it. We're going to talk about the little things, and most importantly, the things you've got to do to separate yourself. And it's not from 3:30 to 5:30, because a lot of guys are working out tough, and if you bought this series, I'm not worried about you from 3:30 to 5:30. You must be pretty serious about wrestling. We're going to talk a lot about 5:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. the next day, and making sure you understand the little things and making sure that you understand how you can separate yourself. And I do believe you can separate yourself, because I do know there's a lot of really good wrestlers that don't do the right things. So let's get into it. Daily choices, how to be a champion from 5:30 to 3:30. I'm just going to go through this PowerPoint, and as things come up that I put together in this, we're going to talk about them real quick. Understanding diet is the first thing. Obviously, we put together a nutrition package or nutrition information in October, but understanding diet is critical. Too many guys take shortcuts in this respect. It's probably the area that I think is the most abused, because I think just our culture and our society don't help us when it comes to diet, because kids have gotten bad habits, and when they get to the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, they've got to break those habits. But if you're serious, you got to break those habits. Okay, this is the first of 2 workouts. We're going to concentrate on getting all 6 body parts in, because we are in season. We obviously want to do these 2 workouts early in the week, minimum of 2. If you don't have competition on the weekend, you can get 3 workouts in. However, if you have competition on the weekend, it's important to get 2 in. Make sure you get them in early, like I mentioned. Make sure you alternate where you get a day off in there. So we're going to go Sunday, Tuesday this week with our guys. Doing a warm-up right now, some warm-up laps. We'll do some push-ups, some squats, and then we'll finish with just a couple, maybe a sprint lap, just to make sure everybody's awake. I'm big about warming up. Hi, this is Coach Dressler. We're back with our November edition of College Bound. And last month we talked about official visits and unofficial visits. And this month in November we're going to talk about Eligibility Center and how important eligibility is.
I'm going to go over the initial eligibility requirements and a little bit about the NCAA Eligibility Center, and talk about what prospective student athletes need to do before they go to college and try to become a student athlete. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in, and this is what you need to know. First things first, okay, you have to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. Okay, the earlier the better, but the NCAA suggests that you do it at the beginning of your junior year. Okay, the website is eligibilitycenter.org, and when you register for domestic students, for U.S. students, you're going to have to pay $65, and then for international students it's $95. Now there are fee waivers available, okay, to those who qualify for the SAT and ACT waiver. So if you've qualified for one of those waivers with one of the standardized tests, you can qualify for a waiver of the fee with the NCAA Eligibility Center.
Okay, we're moving on. Our section right now we're talking about is teamwork. And as I mentioned when we first started this series, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is out of the wrestling room. But I truly believe what happens out of the wrestling room is real big in terms of results on the weekends. And so one thing we're going to talk about, and this probably might be a little weird for the wrestlers, is we're going to talk about working with your coaches. I also am going to address some leadership stuff that I think coaches can benefit from too. So this is going to kind of be dual purpose. We're going to do some stuff that I think will definitely benefit wrestlers, but I also think as coaches, I think leadership is real important. And I'm going to take it one step further here, is trade places. What would you want, or would you want to coach you? How to be a leader. This kind of transcends into coaches and wrestlers. And again, I told you how my thoughts on self-improvement. But I do think you can learn about leadership, because I can tell you this about leaders. Leaders aren't born. Leaders are developed. Some people are naturally more outgoing, and maybe being a leader and stepping up in front of people is easier. But leadership is something that you can learn. I know we spend at least one session in the fall and one session at the spring with our guys talking about leadership. Hi, this is Coach Dresser, and it's time to work on our technique of the month. And specifically this month in November, we're going to work on top turns.
You've got to understand the philosophy of top. You've got to be able to ride, first off, just enough to keep guys down. If I'm wrestling Stevens here, if I'm wrestling Stevens, there's 20 seconds to go in the second period, and I take Stevens down. What's the score? 2-0. Stevens gets away with 10 seconds to go in that same period. What's the score? 2-1. You guys are awake, right? Lots of national titles, lots of big matches are decided by 1 point. I need to make sure that if I do that, whether it's the first period, second period into the match, let's say I'm behind by 1. I take him down with 20 seconds to go in the match. If I can't ride somebody for 20 seconds, I'm in trouble. So the first thing we got to do is we got to make sure we're able to ride guys for short periods of time, and then hopefully the goal is to be able to ride guys even longer. So, maybe somebody do a different here. Wonder you're down. Bottom man set. Top man up. Show you 2 different kinds of chops. One's just a basic chop. The other is off of an ankle. We're going to go from an ankle to a chop. Sometimes, just like in wrestling, it takes you got to put 2 shots together to get something done. Same thing goes with top. Sometimes you got to put 2 things together. But the first thing we got to do is we got to understand how to chop. And for some reason, I don't know why it is, but this is easier to learn. I've taught it to high school guys for years, and I've taught it to college guys for years. For some reason, it's easier to learn. Middle school guys and high school guys pick this up better than college guys. So, if you're a college guy here, I challenge you a little bit. Learning how to chop. I think part of the reason is guys think that chopping's forward. Chopping is really sideways to control guys. And you guys have heard this before, probably when you started wrestling. When I started wrestling, I remember my middle school coach always said the bottom guy's like a table. He's got 4 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to take legs away. If you take legs away from the table becomes weak. The table's really strong right now. If I take 1 leg away from the table right here, tie that up, the table's not as strong, but it's okay. But if I put weight on that table, now I can break that table down because he doesn't have a leg. I got 4 legs, four legs right there on the mat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hard for me to knock him over. What I want to do is I want to take a leg away and I want to keep it. Once you learn how to, whether it's this one, or this one, I got to take 1 away and I got to keep it. Then I got to learn how to use my weight. Because the goal is right now, if you're not very good at riding, at your level, sure I know this guy can ride high school guys, but he's not a high school wrestler. So he's got to learn how to ride college guys. You got to learn by just being able to keep guys down for 20 seconds. Once you figure out how to keep guys down for 20 seconds, then you can ride guys for period. And obviously that's an advantage in college because you get riding time. So, bottom man set, top man on. I've got to pull either this way or this way is my first motion. You guys think, well, why do you call it a chop fight? I'm going to show you. Everybody chops, they kind of chop forward. Chop forward. We're going to chop sideways. Bottom man set, top man on. Here I go. I'm going to pull him over this trip right here. Right here, there's my chop. Okay. Kind of like this game. Come here. Here's the concept. I work with a small group this morning. I had more fun with it, but you guys ever do this game at the school, the playground? Me and Thunder, we're working together here, all right? We don't like this guy, we're gonna play a trick on him. So him and I start talking, all right? Thunder comes up behind, all right? There you go. That's a trip. Okay, good job. That's a trip, it's the same thing. But if you understand that, how that works, you're gonna be really good on top.
Let me show you the outline we're going to cover. Number one, why you need big numbers. Number two, before you get started, a 10-point checklist. Before you even do the first thing, you got to understand there's some things that you got to sort out before you can start this thing. Getting the word out, paperwork. I'm going to provide all the paperwork, step-by-step forms, depending on what group you talk to. How to get the parents to the parents meeting. All that form work's going to be included. The best time of year. I do think there's good times or better times of year to kick this program off. It doesn't need to be long. We're going to shoot in this program for anywhere from just 5 to 6 weeks. So we're going to do a hypothetical 6-week season. And what I call the magic, getting in front of the kids with the right kind of presentation. We're also going to include a video with that. And I'm actually going to provide a video, a highlight video, so you can go in and introduce the sport of wrestling to somebody that's never ever seen the sport of wrestling. Getting the right kind of people involved, because if you do this right, I don't care if you're a single A, double A, triple A school, you're going to get a lot of kids out for wrestling. So if you got 100 kids out for wrestling, you got some planning to do, and obviously you have to have people in place. You got to have parent helpers, you got to have youth league kids, or excuse me, your high school kids helping youth league kids. There's a lot of things that got to happen in that. And then ultimately you want to make sure that this program results in kids staying on. Maybe just for a short club season, and obviously as they get older in middle school and high school, a long club season and a varsity season. So that's the outline of what we're going to provide here with this program. So again, this is an A to Z, how to get big numbers.